Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering the Bud Light controversy. Bud Light is in a total panic, and they should be, not just because the brand is in trouble, but the stock is in trouble. Wall Street is actually warning people, do not buy the stock. If you have the stock, hang on to it. But if you are thinking about buying the stock, now is not a good time. Why are they making this recommendation? Why are they warning people? Because obviously, the people at Anheuser-Busch have ruined the brand of Bud Light. Bud Light was, it's not their biggest revenue generator. They have multiple brands at Anheuser-Busch. It's an international company, but at the same time, it's a very large brand. And it also calls into question, what are you doing over there? Analysts understand these industries. There's a marketing director at HSBC, their global beverage sector, that has warned Wall Street, you ought not to be buying this stock. And he goes into some very good reasons why. We're going to review this article, and then we're going to cover a couple other things as well. Before we get into this article, so we can explain to you why Bud Light has caused the stock to become one that is warned against, do not buy, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. Really appreciate you guys. From the New York Post, Anheuser-Busch's stock downgraded by HSBC analysts over the Bud Light crisis. And they actually call it a crisis. And of course, it's a disaster. It's a crisis. It's a panic. This brand was worth billions of dollars before they did this Dylan Mulvaney stunt. And now it's not. The stock of Bud Light parent company Anheuser-Busch has been downgraded by analysts at HSBC who say the brand is in the midst of a crisis following the outcry over its ties to transgender social media influencer Dylan Mulvaney. Carlos Laboy, a managing director at HSBC's global beverage sector, downgraded the stock of Anheuser-Busch InBev to a hold status, meaning that investors should neither buy nor sell shares of the company. You might be asking, what's a downgrade? This is from Motley Fool. It's a good investment website, easy to read, easy to understand. They give good advice. A downgrade, they say, is when an analyst moves from buy to hold or from hold to sell, indicating that they've cooled on the stock's chances of providing market-beating returns. And of course people are nervous about the stock for Anheuser-Busch. Why would you buy this stock? They still haven't explained what happened. And why did you guys not react immediately when you had this very strange social media event with Dylan Mulvaney and you were getting asked questions as to what's going on with the brand? What's going on with the company? No answer from these guys for weeks. Laboy said that the backlash to the Mulvaney branding partnership is a sign that there are deeper problems than ABI admits, according to a note that was first reported by CNBC. Quote, is ABI's leadership getting the brand culture transformation right? It's mixed. At Ambev, we think the answer is yes. That's the parent company. In the US, we think the answer is no. So he's saying that they understand what they're doing internationally, but they don't understand the US market. Very serious. The US market is very significant for the parent company. That includes Bud Light and Budweiser and multiple brands. Quote, the way this Bud Light crisis came about a month ago, management's response to it and the loss of unprecedented volume and brand relevance raises many questions. Again, as I say often in my video series, the management response is the first thing people question. They don't question accidents. They don't question, why is there a crisis? They question, how are you responding to the crisis and dealing with it? Happens in every business. I'm a business owner. There are crises that come up almost on an everyday basis. You've got to deal with those. You can't just walk the other way or say, hey, this goes against our social justice agenda, so we can't question it. We just have to let it burn the brand. Quote, why did its U.S. leadership underestimate the risk of pushback given the recent experience of other firms? Is AB hiring the best people to grow the brands and gauge risk? If Budweiser and Bud Light are iconic American ideas that have long brought consumers together, why did these marketers fail to invite new consumers without alienating the core base of the firm's largest brand? That is the fundamental question. Obviously, this guy understands marketing, understands the industry. If you want to bring people into your brand, you can do that. There's no problem with it. However, you can't do it at the expense of alienating your consumers. Someone should tell Disney that. They should tell them to deal with that with Star Wars. They should tell them to deal with that with Marvel. Ambev is the Brazilian beer brewer, which is also owned by Anheuser-Busch InBev. InBev was an independent company that was created as a result of the 2004 merger between Brazil-based Ambev and Belgian firm Interbrew. In 2008, InBev acquired Anheuser-Busch, whose brands include Bud Light, Budweiser, Michelob, Busch, Stella Artois, among others, in a cash deal worth $52 billion. Laboy's note was written as market data shows that beer drinkers are shunning Bud Light in increasing numbers. Nationwide retail sales of the brand were down 23.4% versus a year ago for the week of April 29th, worse than the 21.4% decline it suffered a week earlier, according to Bump Williams Consulting experts who study the beer market. The controversy is taking a toll on other brands as well within the Anheuser-Busch umbrella. The company's flagship brand, Budweiser, took an 11.4% sales hit for the week ended April 29th. Sales of Bud's Michelob Ultra brand, the third largest selling in the U.S. behind number 1 Bud Light and number 2 Modelo Especial, were down 4.4%. According to Bump Williams data. Quote, "It's not just a Bud Light issue," said Bump Williams, chief executive of the consultancy. "It's an Anheuser-Busch portfolio problem now." That is a severe problem. That is saying that just because Bud Light is something that people do not want to be seen with and they don't like anymore as a brand, you would think, as bad as it is, it wouldn't affect the other brands. Well, it is affecting the other brands. People are aware of it. And for the consumers that say, you know what, I'm sick of all of this agenda garbage being thrown at the products that I buy, being thrown out in the media, this is a chance for people to respond with their dollars. And it does work. Companies get the message. This company may or may not make any changes about how they're going to promote, market, and communicate with customers, but they're going to be losing value. And there is going to be an impact on these investment types that say, okay, well, look, we're going to warn people, don't buy the stock, because they get paid to warn people not to buy stock and to advise people that maybe you want to consider buying the stock. They give recommendations. That's how they make their money. So it's a little bit difficult for them to escape accountability at Anheuser-Busch. Anheuser-Busch InBev shares were down by some 1.9% during Wednesday's morning session on Wall Street. Anheuser-Busch CEO Michel Decaris has downplayed the impact of the backlash, saying Bud Light's U.S. sales declines in the first 3 weeks of April represented only 1% of InBev's global volumes. This is the thing that analysts see as well. They want you to tell them what's actually going on, how something happened, and how you've corrected it. If you're not going to be honest with people and you're going to say, oh, well, look, it's just a couple of weeks, it's not a big deal. No, at this point, it's a pretty big deal. As Clay Travis showed, he conducted a free beer experiment. He was trying to give away Bud Light beer. People would not even accept it for free because people didn't want to be seen with it. Why would you not want to be seen walking around with Bud Light? Well, a lot of people have personal issues with it, but also because of things like this. Couples suspected of buying Bud Light were attacked outside a liquor store and called homophobic slurs, but cops say they had actually bought a different brand of beer. 3 people allegedly shouted anti-gay comments at 2 shoppers outside the liquor store in Ontario, Canada. You know, that's how bad it's gotten with the brand. Of course, people shouldn't be attacking people physically for buying Bud Light. You can make a comment, I think. It's fine. Like, are you sure you want to buy Bud Light? If you see somebody buying it or something like that, don't intimidate anyone. But the whole point is that it's not what brands are supposed to do. Brands are supposed to be attractive. And over a course of 20 years, Bud Light was able to build themselves into the #1 brand. And they didn't do it magically. It was a lot of hard work by somebody named Robert Latchkey. They took Bud Light to #1 against their competition and replaced the #1 competition through brilliant marketing plans. Plans like the Super Bowl commercial from 1995, where 3 frogs croak Bud, Wise, and and it was considered one of the most iconic alcohol campaigns in advertising history by Adweek, ad industry publication. Another one that he did was a group of friends calling each other where they sit at home drinking Budweiser as they asked each other, "What's up?" I mean, that was a lot of fun back then. People really liked it. And that's not the only thing that Latchkey did, but that's how they got the brand to be #1 in the first place. Not by taking the picture of someone who's a transgender influencer and just sticking their face on a can and saying, okay, that's who we are now. And even worse, not responding when the public didn't understand that this wasn't a mass production can. They took weeks before they responded, and they've since responded, but not even in a significant enough way that you could understand what happened, why it happened, and how it's never going to happen again. That's why analysts have to downgrade this stock. And it's interesting because you've got, like, Newsweek is kind of a lefty type of publication. They have a couple of interesting op-eds from time to time trying to cover for them. Washington Post did the same thing. The truth about the Bud Light brewery stock and sales since Mulvaney's fallout. This was just from May 10th. And essentially they're saying, oh, well, we've talked to experts, and experts say that the boycott is not really going to have any long-term effect on the stock. This was before the downgrade came out, essentially trying to cover for Anheuser-Busch. But just as a marketing person and as just a normal consumer, you would say to yourself, what are you doing? Why are you putting this can out there? And if people are responding so negatively, why are you not responding to that negativity and explain to customers what's going on and giving people an opportunity to understand, hey, listen, we're still the culture that you always thought we were. This is coming from Instagram, total frat move. And I thought this was hysterical. Like, this is what Robert Latchkey tied into to make a fun beer brand, a fun fratty culture brand. And this is something that Bud Light decided they didn't want to have anything to do with. Here's a girl, she's wearing, beer boxes as some kind of an outfit, being silly, just having a good time, So that's posted to Instagram. People just want to have fun and enjoy their products. They obviously don't want to be pushed with social agendas. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Like, who'd be crazy enough to buy Bud Light stock from their parent company when they can't even explain what went wrong and they can't assure you that they're not going to do it again? Are they going to do this in Brazil with one of their other successful Brazilian brands? Nobody knows because they don't know how this happened, and there's no explanation for the company. The company has since said they're going to vet advertising more carefully. That's not enough. Are you going to be pushing social agenda programs through your consumer products, or are you not? Like the analyst said, are you going to focus on your core customer base and make sure that they're not put off by any of your outreach to other places and other markets and other customers? Are you going to do that? Because if you're not going to do that, then the stock is incredibly risky, because like Disney, you could go and start ruining your brands. It doesn't matter what success these brands had 10 years ago or 20 years ago. If you're not going to maintain that now and the loyalty to your customers. Brand loyalty is a two-way street. Customers buy a brand, they buy it consistently. We all do it because we know what to expect when we're going to get it. And when they do this crazy reassociation because it fits some kind of social agenda they want to push, it violates the brand loyalty because it's a two-way street. Companies must be loyal to their customers the same way that customers are loyal to these brands. And if they're not, this is what happens. Brands get canceled directly by consumers. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments below. Really appreciate you guys. Please be sure you subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.